Am I the idiot for evicting my sister and her daughters after they hid my wife's wig and embarrassed her? First off, I want to start by mentioning that my wife is a cancer patient. She unfortunately started losing her hair due to chemotherapy and she's been incredibly insecure about it, her lack of hair in particular. She got a wig and started wearing it. I don't mind it. I 100% support her since she only wears it around family and friends. My sister lost her apartment after a messy divorce and moved in with her twin daughters, 16, almost a month ago. Things have been going well except my niece's constant remarks about my wife's wig. They got so hung up on it and kept asking lots of questions about it. They asked to take turns to try it on. Suggested they straighten it with the straightener, and so on, which was exhausting. They even pressured to see her without it, but my wife was uncomfortable and refused. Yesterday I got home and found that my wife had locked herself in the bedroom and was crying. I asked what happened. She told me she woke up and didn't find her wig, then discovered my nieces took it and hid it. Then urged her to come out so they could see her without it. My wife repeatedly asked them to give it back, but they started laughing and recording. My wife had to lock the door to keep a distance cause they didn't stop. I was fuming. I went into the kitchen and confronted them. They acted confused, but I was able to get the wig back. I lashed out telling them they humiliated my wife, and embarrassed her by taking away her wig. They said it was just a light-hearted prank, which made me go off on them. My sister got involved and said my wife was just being too sensitive, and the girls were just curious to see her without a wig, but she overreacted. I told her daughters were recording her. She saw nothing wrong with it, and said I overreacted as well. I lost it on her too and told her she and my nieces are no longer welcome to stay at my home, and they needed to leave. I later let them know about the eviction since they thought I wasn't serious and they started crying begging that I let it go. But my wife is no longer comfortable around them after what they did. My sister called our elderly dad, and he begged that I let them stay and insisted my nieces were just acting like typical teenagers. He offered to speak to my wife, but I declined. They've been begging that I change my mind, but I kept refusing. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. At all. For freak's sake, they were recording. They were actively trying to humiliate your cancer-stricken wife. You better evict them. Your poor wife. Holy crap. Edit, don't let your dad even approach your wife over the phone. Seriously, don't. He'll try to convince her she's wrong and not those horrid brats. Not the idiot. Nope. They messed around and found out. All the usual things. A prank isn't something that causes someone pain. They absolutely meant to humiliate and embarrass your wife and are cruel, spiteful people, all three of them. Your sister is an enabler. If your father is so upset, he should have them live with him. But, most of all, your wife shouldn't have to live with people who are intentionally cruel to her. You're a good man for standing up for her. Please kick these awful people out of your house, and out of your life, and never let them back in. This was no prank, this was the meanest kind of bullying I have ever heard of. They knew of her struggle, they were ready to film her crying, vulnerable and embarrassed. These people are mean and evil, and lack any kind of empathy. They need a doctor as much as your wife, only a different kind. If they are even able to become well-functioning human beings, even with professional help. I feel so bad for your wife. And also thankful that she's got you. Don't even allow anyone to hurt her like that again. If none of your family members can't see the wrongdoing done here, I would go no contact with them all. This is about the worst thing you can ever do to a person, who's not only struggling with a deadly disease, but also with the insecurities that are the inevitable consequence of her treatment. Dang, I'm sitting here crying for your wife. Not the idiot. Don't ever let them come close again. Am I the idiot for snapping at my daughter's therapist when she tried to blame my daughter's trauma on me? I, 43 female, have a 22-year-old daughter. All my daughter's life she's struggled with mental health issues. She has ADHD, bipolar, and borderline personality disorder. If I'm being honest, I never really understood a lot of my daughter's disorders. I've always approached mental illness as something you just bury deep down. And as a single mother I've tried to do my best, but I know I'm not perfect. Well, recently my daughter asked if I'd go to one of her therapy sessions with her. I only agreed because she seemed super excited about it. When we got there, her therapist first asked me about how I was raised to think about mental health. I said I wasn't raised to think about mental health at all. She then said she guessed that. It seemed kind of snarky, but I ignored it. She then asked about my family's history with addiction and mental issues. I denied any, and she then started to list all the things my daughter told her and asked if they were a lie. They weren't a lie, but I never saw any of these things as big issues. She then began to explain to me that borderline personality disorder is a trauma response. She explained it can be caused by many things, but by me invalidating her emotions, so much like I was invalidating my own, had a part to play in it. She then tried to tell me ways I can cope with my own trauma so that I can help my daughter through hers. After listening to her spew absolute garbage for 30 minutes, I finally got up and told her she was a freaking quack, and didn't know anything she was talking about. I stormed out and left. My daughter called me crying an hour later, and I told her she needed to get an actual therapist instead of that witch. I wasn't upset with my daughter, but I did feel like she kind of threw me to the wolves. After cooling down though, I think maybe I could have handled that wrong, but I'm not sure. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Licensed counselor here. BPD is a trauma response. Trauma does not have to be what you think of as abuse to cause the same results as abuse. It would do you good to educate yourself on adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. Edit to add, I don't think OP is an idiot for not knowing this about BPD, but for their response and behavior towards the therapist. Info above in this comment is for OP to better understand their daughter. You are the idiot. I'd feel sorry for you, since you are obviously in denial about your own shortcomings and upbringing, but it's clear that you don't even have an open enough mind to try to do something other than diminish and invalidate your daughter's perspective. 10 years down the round you will be asking yourself, why doesn't my daughter speak to me anymore? Consider searching missing reasons, and I'm sure you'll see your future there. You are the idiot, and that doesn't even cover it. BPD is a trauma response. And sounds like you contributed to your daughter's trauma. And now a therapist was trying to help both of you. But instead of facing some hard truths and working on yourself, you threw a tantrum and left. If you cannot do the work, then your daughter probably needs to keep you at a distance, so she can get better. And your response after, I wouldn't want to be around you. Am I the idiot for calling my brother-in-law girlfriend an insecure witch? My brother-in-law and I became very close after my sister passed away suddenly in 2020 at 30. My husband and I took him in and cared for him, as we all grieved together. He has been dating Jen for 6 months now, and they live together. I am happy that my brother-in-law seems to be happy and loves her. I want nothing but the best for him, and I truly believe he deserves to find someone to love again. The other night, we were all having dinner together, and a song came on that my sister used to love. I commented on it and said exactly that, which brother-in-law agreed with. Well, Jen said that she was sick of me always bringing brother-in-law's ex up, and that I should put myself in her shoes. She asked how I would feel if my husband's ex was always brought into conversation. She went on to state that it made her feel terrible, and she allowed my brother-in-law to visit my sister's grave with me on my sister's birthday, and that we should be thankful, but she was sick of hearing about his ex, and if we could please refrain from talking about her when she's around, that would be great. It just rubbed me the wrong way, and I snapped and called her an insecure witch who was jealous of a dead woman. She yelled back that we need to leave my sister in the past and move on now because she was sick of her being mentioned, and my brother-in-law was with her now. She said I should put myself in her shoes and understand where she is coming from. I told her she had no right to say that her sister isn't dead, mine is. I also told her that my sister isn't an ex, she's his deceased wife. My brother-in-law told me to leave because she started crying. My husband and I left. I haven't answered any of my brother-in-law's phone calls because he is now also sending texts saying that I need to understand where she is coming from, and that if I want him in my life, I need to apologize, move on, and stop mentioning my sister around them. My husband agrees with me that I wasn't in the wrong. However, when I told my mother-in-law, she said that I really should put myself in her shoes, and understand that we can't always bring my sister up in conversation if my brother-in-law wants his relationship to work. I am still upset and wondering if I'm the idiot? I do admit I frequently mention my sister, but it's not malicious. I just miss her. I also don't want to lose my brother-in-law, as in, my husband and I have become very close. Not the idiot. She allowed him to go to the grave. OMG, that's all I need to hear to know how toxic this woman will be. It takes a special woman to date someone who has lost a spouse, and this woman isn't it. Man, what a terrible situation. You won't win this because your brother-in-law is on the side of his girlfriend. I think it may be time to step back a little and give them some space. You are not the idiot for your reaction because she was completely in the wrong to say you need to move on because she's sick of hearing about it. That's just so ridiculously coarse and cruel, and I can't personally imagine ever telling someone to get over the death of their former spouse or sibling. It's just reprehensible. All of that being said, let your brother-in-law be the one to decide how to handle this, and let him know that you're there for him, but won't tolerate disrespect to your deceased sister from his new girlfriend. Not the idiot. So many things wrong with the girlfriend's rant, including calling your sister an ex. Saying you and brother-in-law should be grateful she let him visit your sister's grave. The idea that she has to compete with a person who is dead. I'm sorry that your brother-in-law isn't standing up for his right to keep and cherish the memories he made with your sister, and you and your husband when you all grieve together. A mature new partner would understand that your sister is a part of him that he shouldn't have to hide away for their sake. That mature partner would never ask him to do this. The only caveat I'd state would be if you were bringing up your sister a lot in every conversation. A new partner might feel like you were indicating that they weren't welcome in your brother-in-law's life. But if your comment about the song was the only mention you made of your sister, and is typical of how you talk about her here and there, the girlfriend's insecure and possessive attitude makes her the idiot. Am I the idiot? I bought my girlfriend a $800 bag, and may have caused her to have a seizure. My girlfriend, 25 female, who worked as a veterinarian nurse has had a rough year. She was diagnosed with epilepsy 10 years ago, but her seizures have suddenly become very frequent, and she was told by her doctor that she has to stop working until they can get her epilepsy under control again. I, 28 male, didn't want her to eat through her savings, so I have been financially supporting her as I work a decent paying job. This has made her incredibly depressed because she loved her job, and she hates depending on others. This Christmas my girlfriend and I agreed that we weren't going to be doing gifts. But after such a crap year, I felt like she deserved something, and I decided to go all in and buy her a Coach bag. I spent $800 on it and I've been hiding it from her for 2 months. I thought she'd be over the moon, but this morning I finally surprised her with it and she literally broke down crying, and then started yelling at me. She told me that I was purposely trying to make her look like a crap partner because she can't afford to buy me anything, and then said that I was treating her like a sugar baby, which I thought was completely ridiculous. I told her she was being dramatic and it's just a bag, she should be happy. This argument went on for about an hour before she told me, and I quote, "Shove the bag up your butt." And then she called her sister to come pick her up and take her to her parents. We've been together for 6 years, and this is the first Christmas we spent without each other, so I've been upset all day. I called her repeatedly through the day, but she ignored them all, so I sent her a snarky text message. "Thanks for a great freaking Christmas." I think it's understandable that I'm frustrated. Around an hour ago, my girlfriend's sister called me to tell me that my girlfriend had a bad seizure, and she had to be taken to the hospital, and then her sister tried to blame me for it because I stressed her out. I'm honestly freaking pissed off about this entire situation, and I can't even see my girlfriend because no visitors are allowed at the hospital due to the restrictions. This is the worst Christmas ever, and it's all because I bought my girlfriend a present. Am I the idiot here? Because I feel like I'm missing something. Everyone's the idiot here. I was on your side in the beginning until the text. Your girlfriend is clearly going through a very stressful time, and is not processing her emotions appropriately. This doesn't give her the right to take it out on you, though. She and her sister also can't go around blaming other people for her seizures. Yes, stress can exacerbate them, but it's not your fault that she's not dealing with her feelings about her financial situation appropriately. I understand your frustration, but hitting back with a text that is obviously sent to upset her and make her feel guilty didn't do anything to help the situation, especially when she very clearly is already struggling. You both could work on your communication. 6 years together, and unless he has a history of doing things just for clout, you would have to be looking for the reason to make him an idiot. He already financially supports her, emotionally supports her, and just wanted to go the extra mile. Might have been upset, but she could have said this is too much, and I'm not comfortable taking it. Instead she basically spit in his face. OP, it's up to you how to handle this. Once things settle down you need to hear from her when she's not emotionally charged and go from there. And the sister owes you a major apology. Not the idiot. Edit, I also find it curious how she doesn't want to be indebted but is fine with him paying all the bills. Seems like she has family she could move in with if she was that passionate about it. There's a difference between someone paying living expenses when a situation changes on an emergency basis, and a $800 handbag. She literally can't work, and likely would have felt bad no matter who she was living with. Then they came to an agreement about no gifts, because she felt bad about the costs. However, the boyfriend specifically ignored her wishes and their agreement, over something as unnecessary as a handbag. I would be pissed too. It's not going the extra mile if it's against someone's wishes. I don't know if you know anyone who has epilepsy, but it's hell. You lose all control and independence over your life if it's severe enough. You can't work, can't drive, can't go places alone. If I play an armchair psychiatrist, I would say that the girlfriend is likely mad that the boyfriend made yet another situation out of her control. They had a plan and he ignored it without asking her.